Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Dubai International Project Management Forum 2026. I know it has been a very long day. I will try to keep my part short so that you enjoy the speakers that we have today. We have three distinguished speakers who are very well versed and at the forefront of future technology in project management. Each speaker will have about 20 minutes to present, and then they will give you 10 minutes to ask your questions and to discuss with them. Our first speaker is Mr. Isaac So, a director at ICF. He is a trusted advisor who translates complex strategic goals into tangible technology solutions and is renowned for his ability to design and launch 0 to 1 systems in ambiguous environments. Without any further ado, please join me in welcoming Mr. Isaac So to the stage.
Can I? Hello? Yep, I think the mic is me. Good afternoon, everyone. Salam alaikum. This is Isaac So. I thank you for joining this session. I know it has been a long day. I'll try to make it interesting and something that you can learn from me. And today, I'll be presenting about the conductor's compass, harmonizing the human talent and algorithmic power in a world of sovereign AI. It's kind of a long sentence of the title here, but we'll get to there for the what I meant for that. And let me start the next one. So before I introduce myself a little bit, I think everyone in this room know about AI at this point. AI has been a forefront in our technology. We live with it, and I think a lot of enterprises have already started to adopt the AI, whether it's a Gen AI or any AI tools that you can make it more efficient. And I think I wanted to start with this iceberg here. So when you think about AI adoption, it can be like you can get a quick wins, or you can automate your task. With the AI, you can save a lot of cost, or you can achieve a lot of efficiencies. But at the same time, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Below the iceberg, there can be some failures, some hidden risks, or some organizational hurdles that you have to go through. So the AI adoption and reality has a little bit of a gap. So in this presentation, I will go through, as a PM with this new technology, what is our role and what we can do better with this new future technology. And a little bit about me. I am currently at San Francisco Bay Area. I live in San Jose, California, in US. I'm originally from South Korea, Seoul, and I moved to US for study in college. So I studied in economics and public policy. And I have been working for New York City Mayor's Office of Management Budget right after graduation. And then I moved to ICF, management consulting firm. It's a consulting firm in US. We have offices around the world too, but we do a lot of consulting for public sector and private sector in energy, environment, and digital transformation as well. And at ICF, I'm the director of financial management and data analytics in disaster management. That's one of the big fields that our company has, whether it's an earthquake or a hurricane or any natural disasters that we see around the world, we manage those disasters. And a little bit, one more thing about myself is that I was very fortunate to be part of the global team. Actually, the next speaker, Saul, was my colleague too. When I learned about AI, I learned by myself. And then I saw the opportunity with PMI actually, when PMI was trying to launch a new AI tool called PMI Infinity. And I was part of the team, small team, testing that PMI Infinity tool. And then that led me to be part of the global team developing the first standard, the AI standard in portfolio, program, and project management. So when we think about PM, I thought about that PM can be a conductor. I love classical music. I love all kinds of music, but as a conductor, when you are conducting a music, you have to know which area that you want it to start first. And you need to have a compass where to go, like whether it's north, west, south, or east. So this is a quick diagram of the conductor's compass, and I was able to find 4 main realms that the conductor needs to do well. One is the hybrid team, which is the orchestrating the human and the AI agents. So in the world that we live in, we have to think about the humans, but at the same time the AI. And these days, we call it agentic AI too, but there are a lot of AI agents that we have to combine with the humans when we are thinking about the team. And the next compass is the resilient operations. So I'll be talking about some safety and contingency planning tied to that. And then the third compass is the global strategy. I would like to talk about a little bit about sovereign AI. And then the last one will be the future innovation, how human and AI can work together well. So starting with the first dimension, the hybrid team. And I have put it here as a PM, as a conductor in the middle. So the humans, as we all are, we are very good at creativity or empathy or some ethics. And then AI agents are very good at speed or data analytics or like a pattern recognition. And we have to, as a PM, we have to know where to pull the human team or the AI agents when we are carrying on the projects that we have. So what is the best practice to do that? First, we have to understand what is AI and what is AI actually doing. And I'll be introducing a little bit of technical terms here, and I will not go in too much in depth because we are PMs and we don't have to know that in depth, but I think these are the fundamental concepts that we need to know, which is these days AI agents use REACT model. What it means is that reason, act, and observe. So the AI first form a thought. Okay, humans prompt something that you need to find some data. Then AI thinks about it. And then whether it's by the training or the reasoning, they think about it, and then the AI act on it. AI use a tool that they have, whether they do the web search or they use the code interpreter or API. And then they give the result by observing the analysis that they put together. So the PM's role here, from now on, when we are looking at the hybrid team, is that it's not just assigning the complex goals or like simple tasks, but also understanding what the AI agents are doing and pull the AI agents to the right place. And one of the practical next steps that I would like to propose is that we all know that project artifact is there. And when we are putting together the project artifact, we need to create an AI role charter. What I meant by AI role charter is that we need to define what is the AI objective, the AI agent's objective. Why are we pulling the AI agent into our project? And what does AI agent not allowed to do? Right now, some people think that some PMs might think that, oh, yeah, I can pull these AIs into these agents, and then these agents will talk each other and provide the result. That's not true. In most cases, it can be true, but you have to have a boundaries where AI can stop and pause, and the humans can intervene to that. Speaking of intervene, you have to, HITL means human in the loop. And I'm sure some of you may have already know this term. Humans need to be always in the loop when you are making decisions, and the escalation path is very important. And then the key metrics, KPIs. As a PM, there are a lot of KPIs that we are so used to. But when we are putting AI into the mix, we need to come up with the new measures, new KPIs for the AI agents. And one of them can be like, what is the efficiency gain or the reduction in the RFI, request for information response time, or the error rate. So having those key metrics in the AI role charter will be very helpful. Next dimension, which I mentioned about resilient operations. And I wanted to introduce that AI, like I said, AI can fail at any point. AI, like there can be like technical failure, whether the hardware doesn't work or there's a bug in our software, or algorithmically there will be a bias. So like for example, let's say if you build an AI model to be trained on some artifacts that the humans created, and unethical items might be in there, then AI will be trained on that, and then it will give you the biased result. At the same time, in the middle is another term called model drift, which means, in a very blunt way, garbage in, garbage out. So if the data is not good, then the model will be drifting. Meaning that in the beginning, as a PM, you might think that the AI is giving you a good result, but at the end, it will fail. So we have to remember these terms, and actually we need to be resilient to be more safe using the AI. And I am introducing 2 case studies. I'm not going to go in too much in depth, and I will not specify the exact company that went through this, but these are the case studies where the AI had a lot of risk. And what I'm wanting to say here is that with this risk, with these possible failures, PM can be in a trouble if this happens. So we have to, as a PM, we have to remember that we need to build the resilient operations within it. And one thing that I want to introduce here is NIST AI Risk Management Framework. I think some of you may have heard about this. It's in US, it's not required, it's a recommended framework. It's a National Institute of Standards and Technology. They came up with the AI Risk Management Framework back in 2023, and they come up with 4 terms: govern, map, measure, and manage. You have to have a governing document, what the AI risks are, the policy and procedures to map those AI risks, and then you need to know how to measure those AI risks. And after that, you have to have a management, how to mitigate those risks. And I wanted to add one more thing on top of it, which is the fire drill. Like I said, AI can fail anytime. And when you are so reliant on AI model, whether it's a Gen AI or any AI models that you have, if it fails, you need to know how to get back to it. For example, in my company, we try to use AI for a lot of area, and some of my team members, they're so used to it. And I ask, okay, if AI doesn't work, what are you gonna do? They used to know how to do it, but they got so used to using the AI, they don't know how to do it. So I wanted to propose as a PM, we need to, on top of the govern, map, measure, and manage, we need to have a digital fire drill. And before going into that more in detail, I wanted to also introduce another technical terms here. If you see on the right-hand side, I wanted to visualize what I meant by AI trust and explainability, which is, as a PM or whoever it is, when we think about AI, it's kind of a black box. when you look at ChatGPT or Gemini or Cloud or any tools that you have, we don't know how AI is actually giving the result. Of course, AI is giving the result based on your prompt, and we also know the AI is learning and do some reasoning behind it, but we actually don't know how it works. So as a PM, we need to understand how it works, but not too much in technology, because engineers should be able to do it. What I am asking for PMs to do is that whenever you have a vendor who's proposing the AI solution, remember to request for XAI framework. Sometimes it's called LIME or SHAP. Not going too much in detail, but it's using the game theory and the machine learning. And they can give you some kind of a decision tree where, oh, this is how the AI model works based on your prompts, and this is the failure or the success that you will get. Having those metrics in place while you are picking the solutions will be very helpful. The third dimension that I wanted to talk about is the sovereign AI. And I'm speaking here at UAE, and I'm very pleased and honored to do that, just because, not only because I love Dubai, but also UAE is a very good example of sovereign AI. Sovereign AI, as a term, is called, it's like a national ability to really develop, deploy, and control its own AI. Around the world, there are certain countries who have been frontier of the sovereign AI, and UAE is one of them. Some of you may have already seen with the great leadership that UAE has, the Dubai Universal Blueprint of AI is one good example, making sure that the AI infrastructure, whether it's the chips or data centers, are based here, also having a server or having a human talent to do those AI is very critical. And the world that we live in, not every country is like UAE. So what should we do as a PM who's not at UAE, or even you are at UAE, what you can do better? So one of the constraints that we all have as a PM is that data can live here in certain countries, but if it goes out of the country, and if it goes out of the country or it's coming from another country, it's bound to certain laws that you have. Like if it is coming from Europe, there's a specific Europe law that prohibits data to flow through. And also the compute sovereignty. So like, a lot of chips are coming from Taiwan or Korea, the memory chips or the graphic chips from NVIDIA or like AI infrastructure, all of those. So if you don't have those chips, your model will not work. So if you are living in a country like that and you are a PM, what you should do. And one of the terms that I want to introduce today is a federated learning. It's one of the solutions that is in the market, and it's kind of thinking reverse way. Previously, people were thinking that, okay, if I deploy AI, I'll deploy the model, and then I'll put in the data into it, and then get the results from it. Now, this federated learning is what it does is there's a global server here, and then you deploy model to data, not the other way around. So the model goes to the, we call it as node, each node, and then it learns from that data. It gives you the result, but when it comes back to the global server, it only gives unnominated data, not the actual data. So the global server actually gets trained after all of this back and forth, but you are not bound to those laws that you have, like Europe or US, anywhere where there's a privacy laws. So the data stays local, but you also achieve the AI solutions there. And then the last dimension that I wanted to mention is how we can make a good symbiotic relationship between humans and AI. And one of the big questions that I had while I was going through this AI standard, developing AI standard with PMI, or deploying AI models in my company, is that I was looking at like some philosophical thoughts. And some of you might know Sigmund Freud, that's a philosopher, who talked about dreaming. Actually, our innovations, our dreams, a dream and innovation and creativity correlate each other. Sometimes, yesterday I got to Dubai yesterday, last night, and I was dreaming about this presentation. Not a failure, a success, but sometimes a dream can be, out of nowhere, but the dreaming part of it can spark your idea, the creativity. But if you ask this question, can AI dream? No, AI cannot dream. If you want to make AI to dream, then you just turn off the AI. The AI will not work. AI only works when you turn it on. So what I'm trying to say is that creativity, I'm not just talking about the dream, but the creativity comes from humans. And AI is very good for pattern matching or those algorithmic power tied to it. And I wanted to introduce the superintelligence or the quantum computing just briefly because those will accelerate at a very fast way. Like there are certain companies who are trying to reach that superintelligence or the quantum computing will accelerate the power of computing the pace that we have never experienced. However, none of those can excel humans of dreaming or creativity. So as a PM, we need to make sure that the humans that you have the role, but also AI has a different role, and then it just has to collaborate together. So the 5 key takeaways that I wanted to mention are these. As a PM in this future technology, we need to remember that we are not just a manager. We are not just a project manager. We are conductors with those 4 dimensions that I have just mentioned. We need to know how and when to assign the complex problem. The complex problem can be achieved by humans, but also AI agents. And how can we do that? I think that is very important. And then as a PM, you always demand the explainability. Like the vendors need to provide how those AI model works. Third, the practice failure. Just assume like maybe once a month or once in quarter with your team, turn off the AI and ask the team, hey, can you do this? Can you do the same thing that we were able to achieve with AI? If it fails, then we have to learn it again. But I think having that resiliency planning is very important. And then navigating sovereign AI, like I said, UAE has already achieved, it's on the good track of achieving that. But for other countries, and UAE can be a good benchmark for other countries in Middle East and around the world. But federated learning is a good term that we need to remember and apply for it. And then lead the new standard. I wanted to stress this. While I was a part of the global team developing the AI standard, I noticed that building a standard, especially AI standard, is very difficult. AI is changing every single day. So how can you build the standard unless you consistently change the standard? But as a PM, in practice, if you lead your team with curiosity, like open for curiosity, open for new idea, and know how to conduct those 4 dimensions, you will be able to lead a new standard as well. That's the end of my presentation. I'm open for any questions that you may have. Thank you. And this is my LinkedIn, so please connect with me. Any questions? Anyone? Oh, yes. Oh, this one, definitely.
Hi, good evening, sir.
Yeah.
So currently the AI position in the market is, it has the organization database at each level and at each department.
Yes.
Say, for example, Microsoft Teams and other players. Some other players like Google, GCP, all are coming with this type of model
Yeah.
where they are going to help the organization with AI like a co-pilot. Okay. So in future, after 3 to 5 years, if the supercomputers like superintelligence is coming, then it means that whether the giga companies or the small companies, the server will have all types of database of the company, and they can take the decision at a strategic level also.
Yeah.
They can advise anything. So according to you, do you think it can replace the job of a project manager, or it can accelerate it?
That's a very good question. I should have added that. I do think, personally, I do think that project manager, PM role, will be more important than ever. Like you said, the Copilot or Gemini or any other tools that we have with GCP, those are the tools. And I do see in my industry, some of my clients are very behind of adopting the AI tools, even that. So as a PM, if one of your client wants to adopt the AI tool, then you need to train them. You need to let them know how to use it. So that's one of the role. But even after you deploy AI agents or the model to the client, like I said, as a conductor, you need to know how to combine the human talents with the AI talent. So I do think that those big companies, big tech companies, are trying to get to that stage, but we as a PM should have a role in the long run too. But thank you for that question. Yeah. The mic, please. And if you can do the presentation of mine a little bit. Again, I think it's not showing up here. That would be great. The mic should be here.
I have it here, so maybe I can pass it on.
Oh, yes. Yes. No.
I have a
Okay,
question
I'm
here.
sorry. I have a little bit
Yes.
twisted question, and I ask it to everybody who's
Yes.
speaking about AI. So the recent studies are showing that AI has a very negative impact on social relation.
Yes.
With the latest cases of suicides that are happening among
Yeah.
people. How do you feel about it, and how can we protect the project managers from going that road?
Thank you for that question. Yes, I think if I remember correctly, the OpenAI ChatGPT model did cause someone to suicide. I think I can think of two things. One is the companies who are building the model, they need to test it before they deploy. I think it is still investigation, but in this race, AI race, some companies, they deploy the model without actually testing it. And the rigorous testing needs to happen, but sometimes you just overlook those because of the competition, that you want to win the competition. So I think that's the first process those tech companies definitely need to implement before deployment. But at the same time, I do think that users like all of us, we need to be aware and speak up of those problems. We don't want that to happen again. We don't want the AI model to allude someone to suicide, like train this person to suicide or something. So we as an end user, and that's one of the key things that those tech companies actually look for. At the end of the day, we are the users. If we speak up and if we make the voice, those companies will listen. So I think that's a crucial part of it to mitigate those. I think, yeah.
Hello. Yes. Okay. Is there any technical documentation more specific on the framework that you explained that we can refer? You mentioned the AI charter. You mentioned the framework.
Yeah.
I think this is a very good guidance. I know there are trainings and tools, but they are still very new and too general.
Yes.
What you brought here today, I think is very specific to project management and
Yeah.
PMO, which is very good, but still I haven't seen literature with this level of detail.
Yes, thank you for that question. I think to answer your question, one is, so PMI will be publishing the standard that I was part of, the AI standard in portfolio, program, and project management. I highly recommend anyone in this room, please take a look at that. It will be published soon. I cannot disclose the date yet, but that document will be very helpful. In terms of the concepts or the framework that I shared today, I think the first thing that we as a PM can do is this AI role charter. I think this is the good step. We have a lot of resources out there that we can look into. Another one that I tried to, this one, XAI frameworks. These are available, but at the same time, to be honest, it's very hard to comprehend and fully understand what these frameworks are if you are not like PhD in mathematics or statistics. So I think this year, for sure, there will be some literatures, like you said, to explain a little bit more about these frameworks in plain language, like the language that non-technical staff can actually understand. So please look out for those. And make sure that when you are requesting for those to the vendors, I think additionally you can request is not just giving you like a decision tree from this framework, but at the same time, maybe explain to PMs or the non-technical staff to understand how that AI model work. I think that is critical step as a PM. I hope that answers. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know this is a very interesting topic we have. We have time for one more question. I know the gentleman has been raising his hand since the beginning. I see you from back there. So it's your question, and then
Thank you. Question.
You can see Isaac in the event outside, and maybe you can have a discussion with him.
Regarding governance and standards,
Yes.
you mentioned that AI is ever evolving, and we're always playing the catch-up game, trying to write standards. But there are plenty of standards already exist in operation, like ISO 9001, 14001, you name it. What if the body like PMI could look at how AI is applied to execute those standards?
Yes. Actually, maybe you have heard one of our internal meetings that we had at PMI. No, I'm just kidding. I do think, so one thing that was one of the big topics that we discussed. So the standard that will be out will be published, but we'll have a version 2, version 3 along the way. And I think PMI and our development team has learned the lesson too, that maybe instead of taking, it took a while actually. It took more than I think it took almost 2 years to develop this standard. But from now on, maybe there will be a lot more recent version of those standards, more frequent, to catch up, like you said, all the standards out there to make sure that we as a PMI incorporate those standards into it. There's also, I think some of you may have know already, if you look up the PMI website, there's a web page called Standards Plus. The Standards Plus, you can just type Standards Plus on the Google. It has all the, not just the standard, but the practices, best practices, using those standards. And some of those Standards Plus documents actually not relate to not do the reference to the standard that I was part of developing it, but they actually already share some of the best practices or the standards that we as a practitioner can follow. So I highly recommend, if you are interested, look up the PMI website, the Standards Plus publication, and learn from there. Thank you. Thank you for all of the questions.
Thank you very much, Isaac. I think it was a very interesting topic. We've seen a lot of hands raised. Isaac will be available over the next day. If you have any questions, you can see him, discuss with him these questions that you have. Moving on to our next speaker, Mr. Saul Gomez. He's a senior staff technical program manager at Lucid Motors. Saul is an experienced and passionate technical program manager with over 14 years driving innovation and program excellence in the electric vehicle and battery industry. Currently, he leads the global powertrain manufacturing team at Lucid Motors as a senior staff technical program manager, where he champions cutting-edge technology, cutting-edge IoT solutions to transform manufacturing processes and enhance efficiency worldwide. In his previous role at Tesla, he managed a large scale of new product introductions for supercharger and battery programs. And this is where it's interesting. He was delivering multi-million-dollar projects ahead of schedule and under budget, while fostering cross-functional collaboration across engineering, supply chain, and operation team. Please join me in welcoming Saul to the stage.
Thank you. Picture this. You are in your new job. You enter a facility that is almost 1 million square feet big. You have thousands of robots moving around you, automated systems, hundreds of parts, and you are producing a new powertrain unit every 30 seconds. Your supervisor comes to you and tells you that the goal for this year is to double the production numbers. Terrifying, isn't it? And yet, this is the reality that we see in manufacturing all over the place. Hello, everyone. My name is Saul Gomez. I'm the Senior Staff Technical Program Manager for the Powertrain Division in Lucid Motors. And today, I'm not going to be talking about horsepower or battery electrochemistry, but I'm going to be talking about the people and how we can use the Internet of Things plus artificial intelligence to empower them to do more. So let me set the stage with what I like to call the EV paradox. The EV paradox is you have a sophisticated facility. It's capable of producing the best powertrain, the most powerful, highly automated, a lot of controls, a lot of precision around it, and then you decide to put this factory 100 kilometers from the closest city in a very small town with around 75,000 people that are mostly used to agriculture or service industry. So you can imagine when you task this facility to double the production numbers year over year for 4 years, the talent mat is going to break. You're not going to be able to just hire people and solve problems or throw people at the problems and expecting them to go away, because the resource, people, is going to be super scarce. Then you have the knowledge trap, which is basically the people that started with the company, they know a lot, but they've been firefighting so much that they cannot share what they learn with the new people. You are onboarding every week hundreds of people, and as they come, they go. So it's very difficult to train. And finally, we have the traditional manufacturing execution systems, which are mostly alarms, red alarms that are telling you that something is wrong. But usually when someone is new to manufacturing, it's not very clear what to do next. So the result is that we have a lot of quality risk. We have high attrition. There's people coming and going, as I mentioned. And overtime becomes a routine. So at the end of the day, everyone is exhausted and just moving to the next thing. Manufacturing is not their thing. So before I move forward, in this age of AI, I want to provide a little bit of a practical guidance and some key takeaways that you can get today that will help you to do some practical things with artificial intelligence. Because now in AI age, there's a lot of hype, there are a lot of theories, and there are a lot of prototypes, but they don't really bring value. And as program managers, we are all about the value, right? So first one, it's a connection blueprint. And basically this connection blueprint is for anyone working in manufacturing, they will be able to understand how to connect current equipment. They don't have to be like top of technology equipment. They can be something that is already there, standard. How to connect them to the cloud or to databases to leverage the data that everyone is generating nowadays. Because AI, it's all about the data, right? As my colleague mentioned. Then how to leverage this data to create training patterns and how these training patterns can help people on the manufacturing floor, people that are not technically skilled, people that don't have a full degree, how they can learn technical and complex processes. And finally, an implementation roadmap, because as project managers, we need to drive the timeline, we need to drive the milestones. So a roadmap that it's very different to what traditional manufacturing usually sees, which is the waterfall approach. Similar to construction, right? Manufacturing is pretty heavy on the planning stages, but when we're doing something like this, that it's different to what we're used to, we need to be agile, we need to pilot fast, collect data, and use that data to learn and move to the next phase. So the first thing is understand that manufacturing doesn't have an average user, doesn't have a standard user, and also in artificial intelligence, you cannot just design for the standards. You need to think about personas. Here, with the management team, quality, manufacturing, and operations, we came up with 4 personas that we're going to anchor every decision-making process that we will be doing through this project. The first one is Fresh Maria. So she is a new operator. She wants to learn, but it's a little bit scared of the robots. She thinks that she may damage a robot or even a robot can hit her. So yeah, she wants to make sure that she is safe. Then we have Expert Mike. I think we all have had an Expert Mike in our teams. He's the go-to guy that knows everything, but somehow that knowledge is just in his head. He's the go-to guy to solve the problems. So we want to make sure that Expert Mike head is available to everyone, right? We want to make sure that we can mentor people with his knowledge. Then we have Sarah. Sarah is our technical program manager. She is responsible for the line KPIs, the metrics. She wants to make sure that if we're implementing a new system, like the one that I'm going to show, it's useful. She doesn't want a science experiment going into the line. And finally, we have the executive soul. So return on investment, efficiency, governance, and clarity on what we're doing. If I'm going to be taking something to my CEO that requires some level of funding approval, or if I'm going to be taking some data to my CEO, I want to make sure that it's reliable and that I'm able to explain. So basically, if we're taking a decision, we need to make sure that we're bringing value to these people. Otherwise, our system shouldn't be moving into that direction. So if manufacturing has been around for hundreds of years and have invested billions of dollars in learning, why are we still seeing this type of problems? At least from my experience, the traditional learning management systems doesn't have a lot of context. Usually it's in the form of a video that you take when you're on board, right? It's static. It's not going to change as you go. You will have maybe training 1 or twice per year, but usually that's about it, right? Just a video, you have some questions, and move forward. So the proposal here is to take real-time data from the line to provide context to the operators on what they need to do on any given scenario. Then we have, as I mentioned, the control towers that are pretty good at alerting about issues, but they are not really providing context on how to fix them. So if we're able to provide that knowledge available and readily for everyone, they can manage what is already in place, the knowledge that is there, to fix the problems faster. And finally, as I mentioned, we have Expert Mike knowledge trapped in the heads of subject matter experts, and it's really not efficient, and it's really time-consuming whenever you have to train someone, and there's a new hire next week, and there's a new hire, and there's a new hire, you need to keep training, right? So if there's a way to leverage that knowledge and don't have to train people over and over again, we will see a very huge benefit. So this is the gap that we're trying to close between what the people are seeing on the production line and the knowledge that it's in the office. So the first step is to take the station signals and map out our current data infrastructure. As I mentioned, artificial intelligence is all about the data, right? So we need to make sure that we understand our sensors, vision systems, cameras, and understand which data points we need to collect that will help us guide the people on what to do next. Then we have the micro guidance. We have basically our large language model being trained on the control plans, product failure mode analysis, process failure mode analysis information, JIRA tickets. They're being trained with this information so that whenever they see a specific signal, they can communicate to the operator. Okay, you need to change the torque program. You need to adjust the torquing parameters. Your voltage test is incorrect. Maybe a connection that you need to redo. Those type of things is what we want to provide to the operators, not just the standard, something is wrong. Then we are closing the learning loop. So one of the features that this learning management system has is the ability to capture a quick learning just with one tap. So let's say Mike is seeing something that is not going right in the station. He just capture a video, take a photo, message, or audio, and then creates a whole JIRA system flow that will get approved by engineering quality, and then that information is going to get fed into the LLM. So that way we can leverage the learning and learn from each other. So this system is operating right now in two basic modes. Novice mode, which is for people like Maria and like myself. We like to have step-by-step guidance on what to do whenever we are doing something new for the first time. And then the second mode, which is the lead mode, which is for people like Mike, that they don't really need step-by-step instructions. They can see some statistics, some trend analysis, and then take a decision if he must adjust the computer, call the technician, call the engineer, do a reset, whatever is needed, right? And also this lead mode enables the training capabilities. So talking a little bit about the technical architecture, because yes, as program managers, we don't have to be the experts on the technology, but it's really useful when we understand the technical complexities, because this goes directly into our risk management process. So the first one is the edge layer. Basically what I did here is separating layers, 3 different layers, and that way we can have input, process, output, and have it flow. That way if something goes wrong, we can troubleshoot pretty easily where do we need to focus our attention. So the edge layer is everything that is surrounding the people, everything that is surrounding the operator, cameras, PLCs, vision systems, as I mentioned. And the key thing here is to have low latency so we can collect real-time data and store it easily. Then we have the integration layer. For me, this was key because this allowed me to get executive buy-in pretty easily. We're not ripping and replacing, we're not adding a lot of risk on a high investment because we take what we already have and then connect thanks to some standard protocols like OPC UA and MQTT protocols, which are industry standards that will help you to connect your PLC or computer to the database. This is what's going to be generating the data that at the end of the day is going to connect to your manufacturing execution system or your quality management system. And finally, at least from the world that I come, governance is a dreaded word. Nobody likes governance, right? But we need to build in governance because as Isaac mentioned, artificial intelligence is still a very sensitive topic. We need to make sure that the people know the information that we're collecting from them. We need to make sure that we can explain why they are seeing a specific prompt. And in case that we have an audit, at least in manufacturing, we have a lot of ISO audits. So we need to make sure that we also have all that information readily available in case someone has a question. So 3 non-negotiables for all the layers. 1, integrating with existing equipment, explainability, and proper governance and control. So basically, for each of the layers, we need to be very intentional about this. And what we had in mind is we're going to be designing for brownfield reality, not for greenfield ideal or greenfield fantasy, because not everyone can afford to do the investments. So how do we get to scale this up? Because when we are talking about technology and projects, we need to make sure that it's going to be available for everyone. So the first thing, as I mentioned since the beginning, we need to be fast. We need to pilot and in an agile way, in a very narrowly focused way. Because if we try to cover everything since the beginning, it's going to be very, very complex. So what we did here, we took only 2 stations across 2 different shifts, day and night, and selected only 3 operations that are complex for operators, not more. Out of the 15, 20 that the operator needs to do, we only took 3, which were torquing, kitting, and visual inspections. So that way, we were able to clearly understand what's going on at the station, is the feedback working or not. Once we have this, we standardize the patterns, we standardize which adapters we're going to be using for our equipment, what works well, how we're going to be doing the data infrastructure, the data cleaning, how the databases are going to look like. We have templates for the user interface of the operator, of the manager, of the TPM. Once we have this, we put the governance layer, dashboards, data, controls, performance metrics. And finally, once we have all this, we put it together in a package that is going to allow us not only to put it in the next station, but in the next manufacturing line or in the next facility. So basically, design for repetitivity, because that's what we want to do. We want to leverage what we already did. We don't want to start from scratch every time we're doing something new. So from 0 to 1 in 90 days, and this is what going back again, as program managers, we like to plan, at least I'm speaking for myself. I really love planning, I really love detailed plans. But when you are in the age of artificial intelligence, where everything is changing every other week, you cannot afford to spend weeks planning. So what we did here is set up in different stages. Stage 1, we have the sensor mapping. As I mentioned, the data infrastructure. We had to add a couple of sensors and a couple of other PLC signals so we can properly collect the data that we needed. We established baseline KPIs, because even in artificial intelligence, we need to talk about KPIs. Otherwise, how we're going to prove the return of investment, right? Then we did the privacy briefing, because if we don't get the sign-off from the people on the line, it will be against the rights just to install something to monitor them, right? So we need to be making sure that we are following the compliance and guidance from the start. Once we did it, once we completed that phase, we moved to the deployment on the 2 stations for 2 shifts, and this is where the iterative cycle started. We started to see data coming in, we fed that data to our model, and then we changed a little bit on the prompts that we were providing to the operators. So this needs to be a constant loop that we're using, right? As long as we have new data, we need to make sure that we're using this new data to train our system. And finally, the expansion phase, where we finish deploying this across a full manufacturing line. So the critical success factor, and this is something that's going to resonate with you guys, because we had a talk about it in the beginning of the day, co-design, or in this case, engage the people that you want to serve since the beginning. In this case, we had the operators being a critical part of the feedback loop from day one. Their input shape our system. Some operators, besides being concerned about privacy, about being monitored, they told me that they wanted to be able to switch the intensity of the mode, right? Some days they're not feeling right. They would like to have pretty detailed instructions, but some other days they're feeling great. I know this process. I don't need everyone to tell me what to do. I'll just do my thing, right? So enabling those type of features is gonna ensure and enable the success for this type of projects, right? You need to make sure that you are involving everyone around it, all the stakeholders. And finally, again, KPIs, because AI also needs to provide some value. So the two first KPIs, these were pretty much what we were expecting, which is time to proficiency. So now we have production associates getting better at the station, level 3 certified. Basically, level 3 certified in manufacturing industry is you're able to teach other people how to do the job. So level 3 by week 5, usually it took them until week 7 or 6 to get to this level, and many times they didn't even reach the level because they were frustrated with the job and just left. Then we have the defect reduction, because if you guys have ever been in a manufacturing line, during the first weeks, operators are building things. Let's say they are building a motor, they are testing a motor. So what they see is just a red light flashing, but they're able many times just to continue building and building, right? So now, besides this red flashing light, there are clear steps, clear pictures on what to do next. That way they address the problems, and the in first week defects has drastically reduced. Then the two other metrics are the ones that I'm most happy about, because this is something that we were not expecting to get from this project. This was something like a secondary benefit, but it resulted like a golden nugget, because for me it was what clicked on what should we be doing with artificial intelligence. And the first one is job satisfaction. If you guys go to a manufacturing facility, they are usually low wages, they are very long hours, the work is not nice, it's not an office work, right? So many of the people there feel frustrated because they are not able to see their contribution to the overall picture of the business, right? So you train them, you tell them why what they do is important, you provide the context, and now they see that thanks to them putting the right torques, the people driving an electric vehicle are going to be safe. They're going to be able to accelerate without having any concerns, and that brings a lot of job satisfaction. And with this, the attrition numbers come down. So it's a correlated KPI, we can say, but it's something that we were not planning for, and at the end of the day we got, and we were really excited about it. With that, two major areas that were improved as well: sustainability, because now we're more efficient, and trust and transparency. At least I have been very scared about AI, especially because I have seen a lot of people talking about program managers get automated out of the job industry, right? Also, people are scared about AI, but when you show that with artificial intelligence, you can empower, you can expand your abilities, you can do more, that's when they are starting to trust the systems and also the management team, because they see that we are investing on their skills and on their development. So this was also a pretty big win. To finalize, let me give you 5 key takeaways, same as Isaac, that are very useful not only for manufacturing, but basically for any industry that is in the growing stages. It can be technology, it can be service as well. So the first one, start where the risk peaks. In manufacturing, it was during the onboarding phase. We saw that successful onboarding basically determined if the person was going to stay with the company or was going to be another attrition number. So by us implementing a system like this from the beginning, help us get those persons to stay at their jobs and be satisfied. Then coaching at the station. This is the second key takeaway. As leaders, we know that the best feedback that we can provide to our teams is being provided at the moment and direct. This is the same principle, right? We want to make sure that the person in the station knows what to do in that specific moment. Not 3 hours or 4 hours later when the manager is briefing the summary of the day, but on that specific moment. Third one, adapt to the persons. As I mentioned, being able to create different modes, being able to tune in, tune out the system is critical, because we are not all the same. Some people learn by looking at videos. I like to learn by reading. Some other people, they just like to follow steps and do some practical things. So being able to adapt the systems to the person is something that artificial intelligence is helping us to do the hyper-personalization. That's also one of the benefits and the leverage that we have by using artificial intelligence. Fourth one, unlock the tacit know-how. We want to make sure that we are learning fast and that we're implementing those learnings in the proper way. So by enabling our expert mic to share the knowledge in a practical, easy way, we're all benefiting. And that's something that everyone can look into. And that's something that I will encourage you guys to do. Try to learn from the teams, from the different teams, or even within your teams. Something that I've been doing is making sure that my TPMs are sharing the lessons learned, so we're building and helping feeding these type of systems. And finally, scale with trust. Governance is key here. Even though governance can be boring, governance can be a lot of paperwork, we need to integrate it within the project. We need to be intentional about it. It's not going to happen by magic. So we need to make sure that as project managers and program managers, we're driving the design and decision process towards proper governance. And finally, let me end this with some of the biggest challenges that the National Academy of Engineers has identified for the next 100 years. And this is personalized learning. Thanks to artificial intelligence, we can now have personalized learning, not for executives, not only for CEOs, but that for the workers that are on the line, and help them be better, empower them, and bridge communities. Thank you. Some questions?
Thank you very much, Sol. I really agree with you. The project managers, as Isaac said, they are the dreamers, and AI is the tool that we're going to use. For our final speaker today, we have Mr. Peter Taylor. He is the Vice President of Global PMO at Dayforce. Peter is also an author with having the #1 best-selling project management book called The Lazy Winning Project Manager, along with many other books, and launching here in this forum, the Invisible Project Management book. He has built and led some of the largest PMOs in the world, now in Dayforce, where he is the Vice President. Please join me in welcoming him.
Thank you. Okay, I don't have a clicker. Thank you very much. All right. Well, your reward for staying to the end of the day, so thank you for that, is hopefully something inspiring, something challenging, but a bit of fun as well. That's my intention. I appreciate your time. As per the introduction, I come from kind of two worlds. I come from the world of being a global PMO leader. I have 200 project managers around the world working across probably like 800 plus projects every year. I come from a software industry. It's a human capital management company. It's about 13 billion in value, turnover. So this is a big, challenging world of practical experience. But the other one is I am an author, I am a speaker, I am passionate about the project management profession, and I feel that we are at a cusp of something quite significant. I know you spent the day, and it's almost every session I've sat in, AI has been mentioned. There's a lot of it. I'm not an AI expert, but I'm talking about what I think this is going to do to our profession. So the first question is, what if the best project manager didn't exist anymore? There are some amazing project managers out there, but what if it didn't exist anymore? I am not saying I am the best project manager. I really wasn't the best project manager. I defend that. I think it's a bit like football coaches, yeah? I think some of the best football coaches in the world were not the best players. Conversely, some of the best players in the world are terrible coaches. We've seen quite a few of that. Yes, absolutely. I am passionate about what my profession does, and I learn, and I experience, and I share, and I challenge constantly. But the question is, what if the best project manager just didn't exist? What would happen to the world of projects? And I think this is where AI has brought us, asking those questions. What if success no longer needed a command and control human hero at the helm? If you've ever seen one of my presentations, I came here in 2015, and I presented my lazy project manager as was at the time, and I'm appreciated that I have been invited back 10 years later. But at the time, I talked about the superhero, the project manager. I joked about the project management uniform, about how we feel as project managers. We're heroes. We save the day. But what if that wasn't actually needed anymore? What if that was no longer required to deliver successful projects? Interesting. Now look, I think many of us have played, many of us are sitting on the edge of AI. Now, I've done the thing that lots of people have done. Who's done this one? We're going to be interactive in this session. Don't be shy. Have you done this? Be honest. Have you played with this one? It's a great one from ChatGPT. You put it in there and it creates this little kind of cartoon or this kind of toy. And you can put in your little things. There's my book. I love coffee. I'm on LinkedIn a lot. Please join me on LinkedIn if you're not already. But what I find is so many people are just sitting on the edge of AI. You're kind of playing with it. You're having a go with it. ChatGPT does this. I can have a conversation with it. I can ask it questions. I'm bored with Google now. I've moved on. I'm playing with Grok, whatever. But are we really actually pushing ourselves into this? My own organization is trying very hard to move aggressively into artificial intelligence, primarily through our products, but also internally as well. But there is conflicting thoughts out there. Here's a couple of quotes. Sundar, AI will create more jobs than it eliminates. Positive. Mo Godat, the notion AI will create jobs is 100% crap. Excuse the language, but that's what he said. What's your view? Who thinks it's going to create more jobs? Who thinks it's going to reduce jobs? Who thinks it's just going to change the whole landscape, whatever? Bit of a mixture. Exactly. Thank you. It's great that you're enjoying it. This is super. It makes me feel less lonely up here at the front. So, I think that's it. It's very conflicting. It's very, whenever something like this happens, and this is big, but whenever a change like this happens, the questions spin. Well, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And this is what started my thought processes about what's going to happen to my profession of project management that I have been in for an awful long time. I don't know, I'll work it out now. Yes, I've been in project management for almost 40 years. I know, it's amazing, isn't it? How can I be so young and be in project management for 40 years? I know that's what you're thinking. But this is happening. This is happening. So this is the most famous quote typically out there. Gartner said this one in a report that was a while back now. By 2030, 80% of the work of today's project management discipline will be eliminated. That's a scary word, isn't it? Eliminated. Eliminated as AI takes on functions such as data collection, tracking, and reporting. Now, this is 2026. I don't believe that is actually going to happen by 2030, but I do believe it's going to happen, and I'll talk about that. We're tracking, we're a bit behind, but it was a bold statement that woke a lot of people up. Now, I wrote a book back in 2020, and it was called AI and the Project Manager. And in simple terms, my thoughts at the end of that was, you know what? It is going to change project management. It is going to take over a whole bunch of things. Honestly, this is the stuff I used to hate as a project manager, the boring stuff, the repetitive. Go do that. I have no problem with that. But fundamentally, projects are about people, therefore you have to have humans involved. It's not going to change the profession that much. That was my view in 2020. My view now is it fundamentally has changed. I think it will radically change the project management world. Now, I'm not sure this is going to make me as popular as it has been in the past, but this is what I think. I'm sharing my thoughts. 3 things have changed since then. 1, the sheer scale of capability of processing. If you get into quantum computing, if you look at some of the stuff that Google's doing with Sycamore and the rest of it, it is mind-boggling. That has radically changed. The second thing is the technology itself, neuro-linguistic programming, for example, the kind of large language models that we're now seeing and playing around with. All of these things have come into the fore that are just different. It's something so different. Earlier on, when we were talking about, I was talking to someone about, when calculators first came in. Now, I'm old enough to remember when a calculator came into school, and they were deemed to be terrible things that were going to take away our capability to think. But it was a radical change at that point in time. And the third thing, which really surprised me, but until I thought about it, it made sense. Culturally, we are different. back in the financial crash, 2008, 2009, I worked for a company called Siemens, running large programs across the whole of Europe. And we had a real problem because what was going on, we were starting projects, and two things happen when you have a financial crash, these sort of companies. One, you stop training, and two, you stop travel. So suddenly we were starting big projects, big programs, nobody could get together, and we saw a massive decline in success as a result of that. However, we've changed. The pandemic's changed us. So culturally, I think it's made a difference to how we think and how we work and the sort of tools that we've now got. So three things have made a major impact into this. And if you think about project management, there's two halves to it typically. There's the science and there's the art. Science and art, yeah? If you think about the science, then this could be written down, yeah? This is your earned value management calculations. This is your PERT. This is your critical path analysis thinking. This is your Monte Carlo type simulations. This is stuff that can be defined, written down, and then thrown into the machine, thrown into AI, and it will just do it. It's not like you start a new project and earned value management changes. It doesn't. It keeps going. It's repetitive. So you can put that in there. That's the science. So my view is that science can just be taken over, that part of it. But when we come to the art side of it, that's the creativity. I'm not so sure about that. Creativity is far more challenging to incorporate into AI. And it was an interesting one about AI dreaming and things like that earlier on. And I'm nervous. You're still in a room, and you know more about AI than I do for sure. And I've connected to you on LinkedIn. But the point about it is, there's a kind of creative part to project management. But this is my thinking around this is, I think there's even part of the creative that could be taken over. Now, why is that? Well, when I think about myself in project management, when I look at my own project managers, why are they having to be creative? They're being creative to overcome problems, overcome difficulties. Those problems and difficulties have occurred because people are involved. And people are the most difficult thing to deal with completely. I'm not talking about the fact that you can remove people in total, but I do also think there's a component of the art side that could also be done by AI. So, here we got the two parts of it, yeah? Science and art. Now, if we think about the projects themselves, actually I put an article on LinkedIn, it's got the DIPMF hashtag, that goes into a lot more detail about this. So I'm going to go into a few of these based on where my thinking is at the moment. I'm going to start with this one. Meetings are merely a symptom of failure. Get rid of meetings. I love the opening talk this morning. 30 days of cancelling all meetings, Zoom, Teams, etc. Wow, that's brave. But if I think about it in my own organisation, we have minimal meetings. One of the things we truly try to avoid is regular meetings, cycle of meetings, repeating meetings, meetings that happen because it happens to be 11 o'clock on Tuesday. Yeah? We've tried to remove those almost completely. With my own team, I have a core project management PMO office of 15 people. With my own team, we meet once a quarter, virtually. We don't physically meet, virtually we meet once a quarter. For the rest of the time, it's what programs are we driving forward at the moment? What transformation are we trying to lead? What is the biggest problem that's going on? Let's have a meeting relevant to that, and it may be just one meeting, or it could be 2 meetings, or it could mean more than that. But let's not have that mentality of locking something in and everybody turns up because we have a meeting. And we saw a lot of that in our own organisation. There was one meeting that was going on that could have up to 100 people on it. It was great. It was sharing information, but it was deemed to be not the most efficient, shall we say. Meetings happen usually when there's a problem or where there's a challenge. So can you overcome that? Can you remove that? I think potentially, and the principles here I'm talking about are the fully automated project manager concept, and that's the book that sits behind it with the challenging title of Why Artificial Intelligence Will Run Tomorrow's Projects Without You. And I was told to say at this point that there are some books left outside if you want to buy one afterwards. They're 150 dirham, just so that. Advert done. But the point about that is, I think this is a great area where we can minimize, if not reduce, an awful lot. Another one I think is in governance. Governance should be embedded. It should be locked in. The discipline of government should be at the heart of what you do. More and more in my own organization, we have our own methodology. It draws on many standards. It's a very hybrid type methodology. But more and more, we're incorporating two things into that methodology. One is the governance standards, automating them. Secondly, the other thing we're doing is incorporating micro-learning, reinforced learning that happens at the moment. We no longer have any, you no longer go and take 2 days and take a methodology course. That's history. What you do is you use the technology that we have, and in the moment, if you're having this activity or this activity, there's a 2-minute video to guide you. And with the ability to do feedback and improve it. Reinforced learning. I think the other one is around this continuous learning, which really speaks to that. And this is where, I'm not sure, this is where PMI might throw me off stage, but we'll give it a go. Hopefully not. But the point about it is, think about something else that's going to have to change radically in the AI world. If you think about a periodic body of knowledge that is released every year, 2 years, or whatever, that has a lagging training or certification that sits behind it, that isn't going to work in this modern world. I couldn't have my project managers learning something and then we don't touch it at all or improve it for 2 years or take them on a training course. That's why we have it embedded inside the methodology, in the moment, constantly being updated in real time, in actual fact, to kind of reinforce the best learning, the best experience in that moment. I'm not saying all of that doesn't have value. There is a value in having these standards and this body of knowledge, but it's going to have to get so much faster, is my view. And on top of that, I think the ability for projects to manage themselves has significant possibility of actually happening. Now, why do I say that? Well, I go back to some of my earlier days when and it's not AI, but it was the day when we had an office of graduates that were coming in and they were running moderately simplistic projects with basic education, and as long as nothing went wrong, they were fine. It was almost like a workflow moving through. When there was a problem, there were some experienced people in the background who could step in and go, okay, you need to help with this, we need to do this. It was kind of like involvement by exception. This is an early concept of, if you like, the human in the loop, which is an important aspect of AI-driven project management, I believe. So there's many components, I believe, to this. And as I said, there's a full document out there on LinkedIn. If you can't find it, then connect to me on LinkedIn and send me a message, and I'll get it to you as well. So this fully automated project manager, is it really going to happen? Well, I think it will over time. And this is my own time frame here, okay? These are my own views. Today, we're beginning to see AI as an assistant. We're already using it in my own organization. We're using large language models to help project managers to drive forward. We will move to a phase 2. So this is where I think the 2030 is going to be. I think this is where the AI is a collaborator, a much stronger collaborator, almost like a digital partner for project managers. So this is where the Gartner thing said 2030. I think that's where we're going to be. What I say is, this is my prediction, in 2035, the concept of what I refer to as the invisible project manager, the fully automated project manager, will come to a reality. Now, I say, I had the pleasure of coming to this conference in 2015. I'm delighted to be back in 2026, just. Organisers, if you're in the room, why don't you invite me back in 2035 for another 10 years almost, and I would do one of two things. I'd either stand on this stage and go, I was right, or I will stand on this stage and I will apologize that I got it completely wrong. I'm fairly confident myself, but this is the way it goes. I don't think, and I'm not saying this, don't go away and say, Peter Taylor, the lazy project manager, says there will be no more project managers on the planet. I am not saying that. Not saying that. But I think the visibility of project managers will significantly change in many, many ways. That's my view. I think project managers as we know them today will not be recognized that much in 2035. They will have changed. I'll explain two paths that I think it will change. But the visibility of the project manager will be fundamentally different. And I was delighted to hear phrases like orchestrator and things like that. You know, I done an article I wrote. I had an old blog that was talked about, you know, the project manager as the leader of a rock band. You know, are you a drummer? Are you a bass player? Are you a lead guitarist? Are you a soloist, a vocalist? And then I updated that in the book to say, actually, it's about an orchestrator. It's about bringing that sort of, that change, that benefit to the fore, to value it in a different way and lead it in a different way. I like this one. Mark Lemon said this one, and he talked about the fact AI can't be human. Nobody can argue with that. It cannot be human. And for sure, I mean, some of the things I've heard today, some of the things I've seen, well, earlier on, we're hearing about going to Mars and building the gateway off the moon to actually drive forward. You know, is that going to be driven by AI? No. You're not going to go, AI, go and we want to go to Mars, make it happen. That's never going to happen. Never going to happen. But either way, I think it will have a huge benefit from the world of artificial intelligence. So this is it. You know, two paths, two roads to go on. And why do I say this? If I said it's not going to, you know, it's still going to be project managers. You know, it's important to be human in the loop. How can I say then there will be fully automated project management? I believe that it will happen because project management is such a vast range of activities. Yes, at that end, you could say there is going to Mars. Yeah? At that end, there are the incredible construction projects that are going on around the world, particularly in the UAE. But at the other end, if I talk about my world is a world of deployment of technology, Dayforce, human capital management, payroll, talent management, resourcing, things like that. Our projects, every project is different. It is a unique activity. But the point about it is they're highly repetitive, unique activities. We deploy some technology, not just us. Many, many companies do that. As I said, we run probably 800 projects a year. You look at some of the other technology companies that do very similar things. A lot of the infrastructure type projects are deploying repetitive infrastructure installations, updates, things like that. There is a vast, vast range of project-based activity that is unique, but very, very similar. Now, therefore, I think, and I see it in my own world, I absolutely believe that we can get to a point where we can run projects fully automated from the point of actually securing a customer, securing a project. There's some work to be done, clearly, to create the definition and the scoping and all the rest of it. But once that moves forward, assuming that the people we work with, the customers, the customer teams, engage in the same sort of way and work with us with the same technology, that actually that project can move forward step by step, stage by stage, and if everything is followed, and if everything is fine, and if there are no issues, it will come to the end of the project life cycle, and that project can be fully automated. Does that remove people from the whole process? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. At the front end, there's all that definition, all of that discipline, all of that structure. Then there has to be agreement between the parties involved. There has to be adherence to the process. There has to be technology to do that. And at the end of it, there has to be a review and a closure. And throughout that life cycle, there has to be a human, an experienced person, waiting there to step in by exception. The world I talk about, and have for years actually, I've said, if you think about what we do, there are typically, in any organization, 3 things going on, right? I don't know what you do, but you will have business as usual. What is it your company does is your business as usual. On top of that, there will be projects as projects. Big stuff, difficult stuff, complex things. These things require an experienced project manager to bring about the change because they're difficult, they're complex, they're challenging, they're leading edge, they're bleeding edge, they're everything. There's also in the middle what I refer to as projects as usual. More and more I'm seeing this. In organizations, they want or expect people in the organization, junior management, senior management, middle management, wherever, to run some small changes as part of their day job. And they need help. Now, if I think about those 3 things, business as usual is business as usual, leaving it alone. Projects as usual can benefit from something like the fully automated opportunity, because people do not have to be fully skilled in being a project manager if they can rely on some technology to support them and guide them through the process. Projects as projects. I still think AI is going to have a fantastic change, a benefit. I talked about when I was a project manager and there's all these stuff that I used to hate doing, the difficult parts, the complex parts, the repetitive parts, yeah? I do believe that AI, just like the Gartner prediction, will take over a massive amount of that. And what will that do? That will leave those project managers leading people, helping to move forward, driving the change, driving the projects through being people engagers, people leaders, people inspirers, bringing about that change. The 2 paths are there. That's why I believe there is a world of fully automated project management. As I said, I think there are big changes ahead. I think everybody's going to have to get to grips with this. Yeah? I think there is a world where the intelligence that sits behind projects is going to break out of all the silos that exist around the world at the moment. The knowledge is going to be rapidly shared. The ability to understand what you need to do to run a project is going to be exposed and available to everybody. It will no longer be owned by it and no longer controlled by people. It will just become a global awareness and capability, and it will constantly learn at a speed that we just can't imagine. This is going to rapidly change the world. This is, in my mind, the most exciting time to be in project management. And I've said that most years I've been alive and working in project management, but now it really is exciting. And I'm delighted to be part of that and to talk about it and challenge my profession. That's what I'm trying to do here. I'm not trying to destroy project management. I'm not trying to say it's pointless. It isn't. But we have to really, really change our way of thinking, change our way of behaving, because huge things are coming at us. And it will be out of our hands if we don't get to grips with it quite early on. Change is coming. Resistance is futile. So prepare. Everything you can do to prepare. Yeah? The world of the fully automated project manager is close at hand, so plan for it. Think about it. Where are you going to sit in that? What do you need to do to be part of that? AI can't do everything. I don't think it ever will be able to do everything. I think, did you see Bear Grylls earlier on? Because he was talking about his night terrors. Maybe if AI could take over that for him, he'd be very happy. There's a bit of dream in there. But the point about it is, no, AI cannot do everything. So focus on orchestrating, not managing, leading in that way, about outcomes. That's the way to go. And please, be a great human in an AI-driven world. Thank you very much. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. Books are available. Oh, over there. Books are available. And please don't ask me really difficult questions about AI. They've got a hand up here already. Have we got a microphone? It's coming. It's coming. It's coming really fast.
Mohammed Jalil from Saudi Aramco.
Hi there. There we go. There we go. You got
I'd
one.
like you to elaborate more about continuous learning and evolution of AI, or I think
So
that-
reinforced learning, basically, that kind of like that loop of learning. So I think the point about it is, you know, if you think about anything, how do you learn something? Some people experience it. At some point, they write it down or document it, and at some point, you learn from it.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that the world of AI is going to be different because it's going to be in the moment. Yeah, it's there already. Someone has thought about it. One of the biggest problems I see in organisations is shared knowledge. You know, lessons learned. Well, are they lessons learned, or has someone just written something down? My own world, 200 project managers. I can't physically connect them to share the knowledge they've had on the last few projects. This world will be different because the learning will come through like that, and we will have the very best as a result of that. That's what I mean by that. Okay? Thank you. We've got one over here, or?
Yes, I have the mic. So, hi. Thank you for this insightful conversation today within the orchestrating as a project managers. But I identify myself in the project management as a dancer.
A dancer, okay.
Yes. So,
right, that's a good one.
as a dancer, I always say we have to do the basic steps before to start to do the tones and the style.
Okay.
So to become this invisible project manager, what are the basic 3 steps to start with? Not before to go to this complexity of all the 10 steps. And
Okay. We should get
so-
together. We should write the dancing project manager. We can do
So-
that together with all the steps. Where it'd be a
So
cha-cha
what are
cha
the
waltz.
1, 2, 3
Yeah, it's
steps?
different. I think, you know, it's a
to
great
start?
it's a great point.
Thank
And
you.
one of the things I talk about is actually adapting to the digital dance, which literally is finding your partner with the AI technology. So I think your steps there are literally is what's available to you at this point in time. How do you optimize that? How do you learn to do the basic steps with the digital technology, with the AI? And then once you've got that, you're going to go move on. It's a bit like real dancing. I'm not a dancer. You don't want to see me dance. It's really bad. But the point is, you learn the basic steps, don't you, in dancing? And then you progress, and you get more and more complicated, and you speed up. And the same principles are there. What I would say is, at this point, is just don't be afraid of AI. Get to grips with it, play with it, explore it, challenge it, see what you can do. What a wider group of people that you can get involved in, almost like a dance class, if you like. How can I get other people to share what they're doing? And that's one of the things we're doing in my own organisation. We're having AI virtual working sessions, so people could go, hey, I've tried this, I've tried that, I've just found out that ChatGPT could do this. That's best advice. Thank you. Hi.
Hi, my name is Ahmed Al-Safi.
Nice to meet you.
I'm from Tunisia. I have a short reflection, and then I have a question about
Okay.
this 2035 reflection on the role of PM, whether they will be disappear or not. So first, as a PM, combining science and art is a really must-have options, because that allows the human being value added to the project process to be visible, more visible, and not getting scared about the role of AI and the future of a PM as a simple word. The second, maybe in the future we might see human beings leading AI project managers, not the opposite side.
Yep.
Why? Because I strongly believe that emotions will be always there, and the machine, I believe also that the machine will never have emotions. So,
Yep, absolutely. Get people out of the equation. But you're right. That's kind of what I talked about, the
Yeah.
human loop. If I'm a project manager and I physically run 3 projects now,
Yeah.
in the future as an orchestrating lead, I will probably run 20 projects where AI is doing most of the work, but I'm there to step in when needed and put my effort and my skills in the right place.
Yeah.
Yep. So your
My question is there any work on how we qualify projects to be fully automated projects, or thinking about the human in the loop
Yeah.
process? Is there any assessment how frequent we will need for each project to have the human in the loop
Right.
process?
I think the effort for everybody is to break it down. And, we do that. Like I said, we have a methodology. We break the methodology down into the lowest level. If we look at each of those steps, it's a question of, can this be automated? Can this be automated? Can this be automated? Any job, even a creative, even if let's say you're an actual artist, yeah, your world, you'd say that's a creative job. Well, it is. But, you know, you have to think about what you're going to do. You have to get the materials to do the painting. You have to stretch the canvas. You have to have a room to work in. You have to live and do all the other things. There's a whole chunk of being a true artist that it still is broken down into defined tasks. Then there is the free moments. There is the creativity. There is the ability to make whatever that art is. And I think what we have to do is think about that. And can you break down your projects that you do into that structure? If the vast majority of it can be done in that way, then you're into the world of fully automated project management. If most of it, or at least half of it, I would say, can't be done that way, then you're in a world into kind of, you know, the project manager, but assisted by the digital AI. So, okay. Have we enough time? We're over. Where's my host? Hello, host. I think we're done. Taking it easy.
No, actually, I was
Can I introduce you to the fully automated host who has been replaced by AI?
Thank you very much,
My
Peter,
pleasure,
for
my
that
pleasure.
speech. I was looking at Al-Abbar's speech today. I missed it. That shocked me, to be honest. He said, I don't like engineers. I mean, this is a project management forum. Anyhow, thank you very much for attending today's event. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your questions. Today morning, inshallah, it will be 8:30 starting here. It will go the same as it went today. And after that, we have the main speech in that main hall. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you. Thank you.